بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask him to send peace and blessing his beloved and our beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba ghufir lahu ma taqaddam min dhanbih. There are variations of hadith. Other hadith is Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba, that whoever fasts the month of Ramadan, then with iman, with faith and ihtisab, seeking, expecting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then all his previous sins are forgiven. Another version of the narration is that whoever stands in the night, qama means literally stand, but referring to in prayer and in dua, and with iman and ihtisab, with faith and with iman and ihtisab, seeking rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the previous sins are forgiven. This month of Ramadan is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this ummah, and it is an opportunity to increase our nearness, our familiarity, our closeness and friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Its mercies, the rahmat that descend in this, the rahmah that descends in this, the barakat that descend in this cannot be calculated. So in this month of Ramadan, we are at a doorstep of something very, very special. And the proof of that is the fact that Rasulullah ﷺ was looking forward to it. That from the first of when Rajab started, 2 months before. So Sha'ban is the previous month, the month that we're in now, and the Rajab is the month before. The beginning of Rajab, Rasulullah ﷺ used to make the dua, and in the dua tells you something that it was on the horizon already. Ramadan was 2 months away, but Rasulullah ﷺ, his agenda for Ramadan, the idea of Ramadan, and it's coming closer, he was looking forward to it. And he used to make the dua that Allah bless us in our Rajab and Sha'ban, make us reach the month of Ramadan. Allah give barakah to us in our Rajab and Sha'ban, and make us reach the month of Ramadan. That's his desire of his heart, to live to see another Ramadan. So this month, and also there's various narrations, he used to prepare his Sahaba. So we should be excited about it. We should be excited about it, looking forward to it, have a positive attitude, have a plan for it. Ramadan is on the agenda. There's a narration. The narration is weak, but all the ulama narrated in the books pretty much. But the meanings of it is correct, and it's corroborated by many, many other hadiths. The hadith is that the hadith of Salman radiallahu anhu, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, meaning more or less, that there is a great month upon you, a blessed month. A month in which a night which is greater than, not equal to, but greater than 1,000 months. The reward of Laylatul Qadr is not 1,000, it's greater than 1,000 months. Meaning that the ibadah done in it, if you do get it, is more than 1,000 months. And Allah has made its fasting fard, and made standing a nafil in the night to pray before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salat. And if a person, it's a month of sabr, a month of patience, and a month, the reward of which is Jannah. But what is the purpose of? These are the rewards and the benefits and what's on offer. And there's many, many hadiths, inshallah, we hear them in our khutbahs, we hear the rewards of it. But what's the whole point of Ramadan? It is nothing except for achievement of taqwa. Now taqwa, we might have our own definitions of what taqwa is, and what we wish taqwa to be, some sort of strange, unusual concept, some abstract. It's taqwa in essence is to fulfill the fard obligations and to avoid sins. Because leaving a fard is also a sin. So in short, taqwa is a life of the obedience of Allah and to refrain from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. And that is the point of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He has prescribed fasting as it was prescribed for the people before, the nations before. Some form of fasting has always existed. So hopefully, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that hopefully you have taqwa. This لَعَلَّكُمْ gives hope. It gives possibility. It doesn't matter who you are. You can enter, the ulama have written on this, and they said that you can enter one end of Ramadan as a person that Jahannam becomes wajib, is necessary for this person because of their acts, the wrong that they're doing. And can leave the other end of Ramadan as a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the 30 days, in 1 month, the person can enter one end as a sinful person. If it is spent, it can transform a person totally. And that is accessible to us every year. So that is Ramadan, that hopefully, it's hope, la'allakum, it's not some Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us. There's even in that word, that hopefully there's something to look forward to, that we can become muttaqi, we can aspire for that. And Allah's promise is always true, that if we spend Ramadan properly and we try our best, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the promise of Allah is true. And so therefore, and that is the maqsad, that is the purpose of that. And this husul of taqwa, achieving this taqwa or fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that makes as a person that stays away from sins. The best ibadah that we can do is to refrain from sin. The best nafal ibadah we can do is to refrain from sins. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ittaqil maharim takun a'bad nas. That you will be, if fear this haram, protect yourself from the haram, the forbidden things, and you will be the most worshipful, the one who does the greatest ibadah from the people, right? So the person of greatest worship is the one who refrains from sins. That ittaq, even the word is there again, that refrain, be scared, and stay away from, protect yourself from the maharim, the haram things, and you'll be the most worshipful, the best abid. Out of all the people, the best abid is the one who can refrain. So on one side, like we sometimes get I wouldn't say distracted, but our focus, this should be the top of our priority list. Someone is in a boat and they're emptying out the water, there's a hole in the boat. They're emptying out the water, but they could just, like fill the hole first. That would be the logical thing to do, is first fill the hole, stop the water coming in, and then then you attend to, like you can't. We're doing sins, we're doing wrong things. Our target should be, because we want to have taqwa in this month, our target should be to refrain from sins. Our target should be to those things that are displeasing to Allah should be removed from our life. That is the whole point of Ramadan. So that means protecting our eyes. There's haram in the eyes, that the eyes should not be. Ghaddul basar is an order it's in the Quran. We are ordered to lower our gaze. If we see something that we should not be looking to, and we should not see something like there's something haram or something inappropriate to look at, non-mahram, for example, someone's exposed, and then we're supposed to lower our gaze as a Muslim or a Muslimah. It's both the order given for men and women. And if we see that, and a person lowers the gaze, so one of the ulama, I was reading one of the fatwas, and he's saying that you should not see this as a musibah, a calamity. You should see it as a great opportunity. Someone's doing wrong, exposed in public, because you make the transaction with Allah that, Ya Allah, that I've done what you promised me through your book and your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is lower my ghad al-basar, because we're doing it for only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for people. I have lowered my gaze. You blessed me what you promised through your Prophet, which is a sweetness of iman. Halawat iman comes through lowering the gaze. The enjoyment of lowering the gaze is more than looking. So protecting the eyes from haram, protecting the ears from haram. Those things are forbidden in Islam. There's many things, but listening to backbiting. Is this a sin? Also, speaking backbiting is a sin, but listening to it as well. That we listen to lies or we listen to wrong things. So we should be particular about what we listen to, what goes into the ears, and what we speak. And that's a big one in Ramadan, because specific hadith about ghiba. In Ramadan, people lying, ghiba, speaking. Allah doesn't need our fasting. Allah doesn't need our hunger. He doesn't need our hunger and thirst. He wants us to He's giving us an opportunity to become obedient slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we counteract the specific thing that we're asking for, we are going against that. So we have to, more important than doing extra deeds is to save our deeds. More important than doing extra, because in Ramadan we have and we should be doing extra deeds, but above that should be saving our actions. Because if you do ghiba, as we've been told, that the person who has jealousy of a person, burns up their good deeds they've done. Imagine someone does a lot of nafal, a lot of accepted a'mal, and then burns it up by having jealousy, wants another person to lose a ni'mah Allah has given them. Or backbites, which is eating the flesh, and you're fasting, the reward of fasting is gone. Fasting will not receive the reward. The obligation might be ticked off, technically, but this will be now is a major sin being done. Ghiba is a major sin, and on top of that, the reward is lost of that hunger and thirst which was supposed to be for the sake of Allah. So we don't want to just fast, meaning that just be hungry and thirsty. We want taqwa. We want the fear of Allah to come into our hearts. We want a transformation in our life that is promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that, there should be, so those are hadiths that are telling us the rewards should be in front of us, because that's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling his companions, getting them ready. We should be excited. We should be looking forward to it, not the iftars. We've got all our iftars lined up, This da'wah, we say da'wat, like this da'wat, this da'wat. There's organizations doing iftar nights. So, there's no concept of making a khatam Quran in the mosque, because you'll have to come to our iftar here and our iftar there. Some countries are smart. What they do is they put all the huffaz in the air in the city in a sink, right? The khatam Quran. So you can go to your friends in Dandenong and you do Taraweeh there. It'll be the same juz and section they're reading. It's a bit better coordinated. So maybe we should, coordinate our huffaz so we can get maximum iftar variety of food from all the different nationalities and all our friends. So that's not what Ramadan is about. Protecting our gaze, protecting our ears, protecting our tongue, and saving our good deeds. And so even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that if someone wrongs you, if a person is fasting, then you're supposed to say, Inni sa'im, right? That I'm fasting, right? Just, that's it. That's the engagement. I can't engage with any like in any jahalat, like any ignorant actions, and I can't misbehave. I can't argue back. I'm in lockdown. You know what a lockdown is, don't you? Like we're experts in lockdowns and quarantines. So, like we learned, I joke about it, but honestly, the amount of itaat that we had during COVID, more than 5 kilometers you can't go, right? Remember that? And you can, we're figuring out ways to, become essential workers, but most of us were very, very obedient. We're very, very good boys and girls, and we're following the rules, right? Because our Premier, Dan Andrews, he told us to do it. So fasting, there is Allah subhanahu, we should be alert, we should be awake. We realize there's a month there. There's a time schedule being given. In that there is expectations. Allah expects from us that we treat this gift that He's given us with value. We know that if a father who gives something to his child and they don't appreciate it, they devalue it. You've worked hard for it, or another relative, they misuse it. Even amongst humans, it's never a good character that someone devalues or underappreciates something that someone gives with their heart and so forth. Allah Rabbul Alameen is giving something that He loves for us. He wants us to get maghfirah. Allah loves for us Jannah. Allah loves maghfirah for us. He's giving a gift. It's put there, shayateen are chained up, Jannah, the Jahannam gates are locked up, Jannah, the gates of Jannah open up. Too many benefits, a night that is better than 1,000. These are the offerings of Ramadan. Above, no other time has these. So it's not any old month that we're just going through. It's not just a burden that's given. There's along with the obligation there's gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, offerings in this dunya. There is a mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're about to enter into. Therefore, we should appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should not be ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other than the worldly bounties and so forth, we should be appreciative that Allah, my Rabb, has allowed me to come, and we are not there yet. But we have to not go into Ramadan mindlessly, and just walk through it mindlessly, and then come out the other end and says Eid, and that was over, and no change come. It is a month that we're supposed to do self-accounting, a self-audit, right? I mentioned this in Jummah last week, that one of the great ulama, Mawlana Ahmad al-Lahori rahmatullahi alayhi, he used to do the ayat of like لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, the fasting is prescribed for you as was prescribed for the nations before you. He used to go through that after Ramadan, and that's a very strange thing to do, to take muhasabah of Ramadan. If the promise of Allah is taqwa, that taqwa in me should increase, what happened? This is a person who's awake. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he wrote this book, Madarij al-Salikin. It's actually based on an earlier work of Khwaja Abdullah Ansari from Herat, Afghanistan. He wrote a book called Manazil al-Sa'irin, stages in how you coming close to Allah. The first stage is called yaqda. Right? So these are stages بين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. Where how you start from إياك نعبد, you end up in إياك نستعين. There's like 100 stages. He says some would put 1,000 stages. I think he summarizes like 33. But different stages. The first stage is yaqda. The realization, yaqda means to wake up. The realization that I have a Rabb and I have to please Him and I'm accountable to Him. Literally I'm accountable. We say Maliki Yawmiddin, the owner of day, we're accountable. So the Mashayikh, they used to read after Ramadan, he used to read the ayat of Ramadan. All right, if the promise of Allah, the main maqsad of Ramadan is, and I just went through it, any change came in me. So these were people, in Ramadan, they were on a mission. They did not waste their time. They planned for it. I mentioned Jum'ah, and I mentioned again Mawlana Yusuf Kandalawi rahmatullah and other ulama. They tell their family, listen, I don't have time for going to the tailor. In our countries, it's a normal thing. You get new clothes made at the tailors. Right? He said, do the measurements before Ramadan. And do it before Ramadan. I don't have time in Ramadan. Right? 27th, we finish. We got 3 days. We can do all shopping. That's not what the last 3 days are for. Right? Ramadan is still in. And we have to take the benefit from Ramadan. Right? So they were like in lockdown mode. They took Ramadan seriously. They had no time for that family specifically. They're a very pious family. The Shaykh Zakaria rahmullah, someone my father used to, when he studied in Medina, he used to visit every Jummah. And great muhaddis, and he passed away. There's buried in Baqi rahmullah. So their family, he gives a description of their family, the ladies of the family with their housework. They were reading like 10 to 20 ajza of Quran every day. A third to 2/3 of Quran while they're doing whatever they were doing. I mean, when you're dedicated and your purpose is Allah and the nearness to Allah in Akhirah, then like you'll fit it into your life. Maybe that's like a very high bar for us, maybe, but it's something should inspire us. These are not people. This is someone like one generation ago, that the Ramadan was like a thing. We are in the whole world. You know, I was telling students, the other day, I said we should like have one. Did I say Jummah yesterday? It was last week. I'm losing track of the week. I'm traveling tomorrow, so everything's all over the place. I said one question, and this is for myself and for yourself. Doom scrolling. When you just scroll negative news, there are negative things, right? Bad things happening. But doom scrolling is like you're in a cycle or downward spiral maybe of just negative news. So hours can go. So a question to ask, how much Quran, this is not just for Ramadan, this is for outside of Ramadan. How many minutes, I don't want to say hours, but how many minutes I spent on scrolling, mindless scrolling. At the end of it, I didn't get much out of it. And how many minutes did I read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's a question. It's almost like because the way we are with social media, and many of us, or many community from what I'm hearing, is that we are spending so much time on the phone and on social media. All right, then count it. Right? We have to, nobody else is coming for us. And every person has to be concerned about themselves. So therefore, you have some question. We have the tech, we have all the tech in the world to do good things with it. One of the ulama in Medina Munawwara, he was giving advice to our Hajj group many years ago, from South Africa, he settled in Medina Munawwara. And he was saying, look, just put 2 alarms on your phone with a message, one at 9 a.m., one at 9 p.m. 9 a.m., what will I do today? What am I going to do today? What actions am I going to do today? And at 9 p.m., what did I do today? What am I going to do? To remind you. This muhasabah, self-accounting, this is month of an audit, to check ourselves, right? And therefore, in this month, our actions, our speech is a huge part of who we are, what we express. So if we're lying, backbiting, then as a sin and reducing the reward of the fast is one thing, but also it creates a very negative mindset in a person, a very toxic mindset in the person. So when they, as a person, it becomes actually a worse human being. That if they're not controlling the things that they said, and this is all in the Quran. Fear Allah, وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. Fear Allah and speak that which is upright. This is one of the ayat that's read in nikah. Right? Rasulullah ﷺ recited this in nikah, the khutbah nikah. That speak that which is upright. Don't speak rotten speech. It's an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Speak that which is good and beneficial. Right? Not rotten speech. And the benefit of that is that if you have fear of Allah and control the tongue, it's not an easy thing to do. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالَكُمْ, Allah will rectify, do islah of your a'mal. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, and Allah will forgive your sins. That Allah will do islah, rectify your past. Your future. Will rectify, your future is good. Just from doing these two things, fear Allah and controlling the tongue. Speak that which is good. And Allah will forgive also your past indiscretions, the past wrongs. Just for doing one thing, fearing Allah and controlling the tongue. So Ramadan is that we are actually ordered for Ramadan specifically has been pointed out to us. This is one of the things that we're supposed to be mindful. Rasulullah ﷺ also, and the emotions are anger. These emotions have to be regulated. All right. These are the nafs being out of control, because nafs is now put under pressure, and it's put under lockdown. It doesn't like being in a lockdown. So nafs is now. So we people that have not any tarbiyah or little tarbiyah, or they think that they're good, but they don't realize anger is one of the manifestations of that, and we have to therefore be mindful of our anger or any other emotion that is negative. And emotions are like 10-15 minutes. In 15 minutes it changes. So we have to have a moment of sabr and hold that emotion, and after a while it will disappear. Because usually most of our problems is not controlling our emotion. We're supposed to. Rasulullah ﷺ said that the strong one is the one who controls his. That's a fight that you have to have. That's like you have to wrestle that emotion and suppress it, right? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah ﷺ said that is a month in which we lighten the load of our subordinates. So there should be a change in our attitude towards others. In our speech, there should be softness. And in our behavior to others, there should be a change, a marked change. To the point that other people, not that we're doing it for the sake of people, but something's changed with this because he's fasting. The fasting should change the, my teacher, this is based on one of my teacher's lecture. He said that in Pakistan, the most chaos you see is in Ramadan. And I mentioned last week in Jummah in Egypt, I saw the most punch-ons, I don't know why, it was in Ramadan. People were it's hot, and it was very long fast. Sorry for the Egyptians, there's some Egyptians here, but I saw it with my own eyes. It was unbelievable. It was every night something was going wrong. It was a big population, busy place. Things do go wrong, but that shouldn't be the case. In Ramadan, we're Muslims, so we have to. In Ramadan, we have to be. That's even the hadith about saying that if a person says something wrong, then say inni sa'im, indeed that I'm fasting. But there should be a marked change in the person's behavior. Feeding the poor. We're supposed to sympathize with the poor. Who are poor, that's a condition. They're not. They go hungry. They sleep hungry, and they're hungry anyway. We should sympathize and empathize with our brethren, our brothers and sisters who go hungry, and you get the reward of feeding people at their fast. You get all the reward as well. We encourage to engage with them by feeding those who are fasting. Rasulullah ﷺ in this month was the most generous. He was normally very generous, but he was extremely generous. His generosity, there was a marked change in his behavior, that he became more generous in the month of Ramadan. It is not the month of zakat. Zakat is all year round. We can give our zakat in advance in Ramadan for zakat that might be due later. We shouldn't delay it till Ramadan. We should give it on time. If zakat is something, it's not tied to Ramadan. It's tied to, that's a whole different, but it's a month of infaq, spending on others. It's a month of sadaqah, charity. And generally, as a Muslim, we should be more generous and be all the rewards of sadaqah and should be for us. On orphans. If you put a hand on the head of an orphan, for every hair, there's rewards for every hair. That many sins are forgiven for a person who just rubs their hand of affection on the head of an orphan. It's a time that we should not waste time. It's a time that we should not waste time. Imam Ghazali rahmullah, and there's a book that he wrote right at the end of his life as advice for a talib al-ilm called Bidayat. It's translated Beginning of Guidance. It's an amazing book. It's very short. It's an advice for a talib al-ilm starting journey. The first page, I love this book because the first page kind of grabs you from the scruff. He said, if you're learning if you're learning this knowledge to collect the dunya and the debris of the dunya and so forth, then you're destroying your akhirah. Like if you're learning ilm of deen for dunya, then, and your teacher is like someone who sells a sword to a highway robber, someone who robs people, a gangster, so you sell a gun to him, it's haram, because he's going to use it to kill people and harm people. So your teacher is helping you in your crime of learning ilm for dunya. So that's the first page, like he's just like shakes. But if your intention is for akhirah and you're looking for hidayah, then know that the angel will spread the wings beneath your feet, and the fish and the birds will make dua for you. But he first he checks you and it's really like he like in the fourth line, he just like grabs you, and he said correct your intention. So in this book he mentioned something, the person who just leaves their nafs, their self, just like that, like ihmalul bahaim, like the animals are just left, like wild animals or animals just left. And he goes, it does whatever it wants, whenever it wants. It has no schedule. If you want to get anything done, you need a schedule. That's why universities got schedules. Schools have schedules. Work times have schedules. Right? Are we in the States? An email has been sent out. Or what do you do? Isn't it in the news now? All the workers that are working from home, an email, they have to reply in an email within 1 week. What do you do? Explain what's your work and how you roll. Well, it's right or wrong, that's politics. But the thing is, there is an accountability. You're getting paid, so what do you do? So the time, things that don't have a schedule never get done, right? So our amal, our deen has a schedule. The obvious one is salat 5 times a day. It's on a schedule. You pray zuhr at 12 o'clock, it's not unacceptable. It has to be after midday, after zawal. You became very pious and said, I'm going to pray 20 rakat zuhr salat. It's unacceptable because there's a format for it. That is, and there's some ikhtilaf, different certainly, but that rakat, there's no ikhtilaf. How many rakats we pray in dhuhr? If you're a traveler, you shorten it and so forth, but generally there is no if buts about that. And it's unacceptable. So time is that thing. If any productive work needs to be done, you need to schedule it, you need to have a plan for it. And he said that is awqatuka umruk wa umruka ra'su malik. He goes, your time is your lifespan. Time is your lifespan. Your time is your lifespan. And your lifespan is your capital. Ra'su malik, that is your capital. The money that you start your business with. And he said, wa alayhi tijaratuk. And upon it is your trade. Right? Wa bihi wusulaka ila na'im ad-dar al-abad fi jiwari Allah ta'ala. And by it, this trade that you do with your time, what you're going to do, what you're going to buy for your time, is the thing that will make you reach the abode of bounties in the place of eternity in the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the time is the resource that you've been given. And he goes, فَكُلُّ نَفَسٍ مِنْ أَنفَاسِكَ جَوْهَرَةٌ لَا قِيمَةَ لَهَا. I love this line. That every breath from all your breaths is a jewel that is a priceless jewel that you cannot put a value on. Every breath that you have is a priceless jewel that you cannot put a value on it. That's what time is. And and he said, and foolish is the one. Then he said, there is no replacement for it. The time that goes, the time that inshallah we're spending in the house of Allah, we're rewarded for it. Inshallah, it's valuable time. But then we know there's a chunk of time daily, weekly, monthly. Even the time that we spend with our family joking and playing is a valuable time. We're rewarded for that, right? It's not a bad. That's a good thing. But there are certain other times. That's not work, study, family time, ibadah, worship, learning, ilm. There's a chunk of it. We know ourselves better. Which time is valuable, is useful, and which time is a waste. And he said there is no replacement for this. Because once it goes, it's never coming back. There's nothing you can do to bring it back. And then he says, don't be like the foolish. They are فَلَا تَكُنْ كَالْحُمْقَى مَغْرُورِينَ الَّذِينَ يَفْرَحُونَ كُلَّ يَوْمْ بِزِيَادَ أَمْوَالِهِمْ مَعَ نُقْصَانِ أَعْمَارِهِمْ. Don't be like the stupid people, like foolish people. That they are happy that they are getting worldly wealth. But they are using up their capital. That's all they got. After all they used up the most precious thing that Allah has given them, and all they got at the end was just wealth, worldly wealth. They didn't attain. Like somebody earns halal, fulfilling the order of Allah in halal, along with his livelihood is also done. But if the only thing that came out of it at the end was he had no intention of earning halal, not to do anything good with it, just be like an animal, just earn like the kuffar without any intention, just do it for the sake of doing it. He's just used up his most precious resource to gain something, and he didn't get it, and didn't get it. That's all he got out of it. That's all he got out of it. So he said, this is a foolish person, right? I guess, what is the point? Imam Ghazali says, فَأَيُّ خَيْرٍ فِي مَالِ يَزِيدُ وَعُمْرِ يَنْقُصُ. What is the point of your lifespan is decreasing and your wealth is increased? And that's all that was at the end. And how can a person be happy with that? So this is something that and Rasulullah ﷺ has taught us that, and our deen, Quran tells us, reminds of that there is something khayrun wa abqa, is better and more enduring. And we are told, and our attention is made towards akhirah. And in our calculation, akhirah is, for a mu'min, it's the only everything is put through the filter of the prism of akhirah. We look at every moment, every occasion through what is this worth in akhirah before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, iftar, we have times to make dua as well in this time, to make shukr, spend some time starting with iftar, the wrong way around, but at iftar, at the end of the fast, these are times of acceptance dua. There's dua has been taught, meaning there's dua is accepted at these times. Qiyam, the Taraweeh, alhamdulillah, in this masjid is the longest khatam Quran we have in Ramadan since the 1980s. It's the longest, oldest, most continuous in any masjid in Melbourne. Alhamdulillah, we make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that ni'mah, and Allah give us more inshallah. And now in Melbourne, mashallah, it's like 200 places. There'll be khatam Qurans happening, musallas, in garages, in houses. Families are doing, they have several hufaz, they're doing their own khatam Quran. Like it didn't exist. I mean, just think about it. It's like there was only one place in Melbourne, two places in Melbourne, there was a khatam Quran, one in the house, one in this masjid. That's in our lifespan, in our lifetime that happened. Last 35 years, 40 years that happened. So we have to make, even having a masjid, Abu Hassan, a former muadhin, Allah give him good health, and he said the idea there was a masjid in Melbourne was like far from our mind. The Albanians built Masjid Carlton Mosque. The idea of a masjid being in Doncaster is like, he came in the 50s. And we should really people like that you should sit with to appreciate all the institutions that are there. They're not perfect, but when he explains to you, then you have a perspective that these are ni'am of Allah. Like Allah can give them, He can take them away as well. There are countries in the world that they lost, especially frontier countries in where the communists, like in the Soviet Union or China or in Yugoslavia, all these frontier places where Muslims lost a lot, the Umma lost a lot, where Muslims had to live without deen, not one generation, multi-generationally. Alhamdulillah, many have come back. But something that many things were lost. Madaris were lost, and just go to Bukhara and see and read the history of the last 100 years what happened. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should spend the time in iftar of making shukr and dua. The Taraweeh is there, doing tahajjud. Prepare a schedule. We make a plan for holidays. We make plans for overseas, buying the tickets. We buy the cheapest ticket. We make plans for shopping, the shopping lists. We should make a plan for them, especially at least a schedule of good acts that we can sustain the whole year. That should be like a core of it. Like I want to make a routine, not just for Ramadan, for the whole year. That should be like the core. And I want to discipline myself in Ramadan. Shaitan been chained up, the nafs is suppressed through fasting. Now is a chance to get on top of some of these things. Right? So zikr, dua, we should engage in zikr and dua throughout this month. There's certain duas that we've been taught, especially the sunnah duas of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that forms making the appearance of begging. Allah, if we can't cry, pretend to cry for the sake of Allah until it comes to us. That have a connection to Allah subhanahu. These du'as have been taught, they make us familiar. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, astaghfirullah. These are simple du'as. Subhanallah, bihamdi, subhanallah azim. We repeat these formulas, they're not just words to repeat. If we reflect on it while we're saying it, they make us familiar to Allah. Allah's familiar to us. We get the ma'rifat of Allah through these. Right? So even on the and it creates a love of Allah and the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? It services our heart, right? It polishes the heart. we want to come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My teacher, Sheikh Mutlaq, he was mentioning, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. This ayat, Surah Mutaffifin, مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ, that the people that have a rust or a layer, and he gave these examples in the Quran, zujaja, a lamp in which there's a flame, but the glass becomes so blackened that the light cannot be seen. And he said that nothing affects the heart. And Rasulullah ﷺ explained that, like the heart, sins cause black dots. So he said that before Ramadan we should be making tawbah. We do not want to come in Ramadan not feel anything. I didn't feel anything Taraweeh, I didn't feel anything. We're complaining about the Qari's voice, the Imam's voices like this, like superficial things. Like superficial things. Make sure we have a Hafiz that can lead us in Salat. But why is a person not affected? Why is a person not? Because the heart is blackened. The Rasulullah says, until the heart becomes totally black, then nothing goes in. Why? بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Because what they did themselves, we did it. So we have to make tawbah. And tawbah, it's a big bab, tawbah. Tawbah is something that is an act that should be there in our whole life from beginning till end. On the way to Allah, Ibn Qayyim said, on the path to Allah, right, in the nearness to Allah, it's the beginning, middle and the end. Tawbah is in the beginning, middle. After yaqza, he puts a stage. The first stage after waking up is tawbah. You have to make amends. I got a Rabb. He wakes up. Then I have to fix up my life. I have to fix my financial dealings. I took someone's haqq. I got to get tawbah. You can't just astaghfirullah and not give the money back to a person. You have to go and get that forgiveness. And also, if they demand their haqq, you have to make an arrangement to give their haqq back. One of my teachers from India, he had to fulfill the haqq of 2 generations back for miras that was not given. He tracked it and he realized that, like his second cousins, because they didn't get their one side of the family, and he goes, they benefited from it. He had to clean up. Like people that are serious about the akhirah, they make sure even that they are beneficiaries of something that was haram, that was wrong done, to fix it. So financial rights of people, you have to get fixed with people. Rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you ask directly to Allah and make istighfar. But if there's some haqq is taken, you have to clear that up with them. This is part of the tawbah. So this polishing of the heart, although Ramadan will help with that, but before Ramadan, the biggest thing we do is make tawbah. For all the wrongs and things we said, we need tawbah. Rasulullah ﷺ 70 times, 100 times used to make istighfar a day. So who are we to say we don't need? We just start now. If it's Ramadan is 24 hours away, then now we should not wait. We should make tawbah and istighfar. Spend some time. Try to make sure, check our life. Find the flaws. Criticize ourselves. We are very busy. We're very good at critiquing others. But for ourselves, mashallah, alhamdulillah, you're a good Muslim. Shaitan helps you along with that. Pats you in the back. You're right. You're good, brother. Like this shaitan, he puts your arm around you and says, mashallah, you're a very good Muslim. Look at you, mashallah. You came fajr in the masjid. He's not even come fajr. It's worse than you. He become like shaitan, iblis. Ana khayru min. I'm better than him. You might do something good. Say, alhamdulillah, ya Allah, you gave me tawfiq and give me more. Ya Allah, this is only your kindness and your karam and your generosity. Nothing to do with me. So therefore, this month is a time that our heart needs a service. And it needs, Allah doesn't want any old heart. He wants qalb salim, a sound heart from us. A good heart. So we have to focus on that. That's ultimately Allah. Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalikum walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. Allah doesn't look at your faces and your wealth, your worldly possessions. Allah looks at your hearts. He looks at your hearts and He looks at your actions, your amal. The heart is not sufficient. He looks at your actions as well, your deeds. Those 2 things, we are trying to work on that. So we should put that as a target, because that's what Allah cares about. So Ramadan is a month of excellence, meaning excellence with everything. Excellence in our ibadah and salat, in our fast, and in our relationships. Ramadan should make us an excellent, better father, a relationship with a father, or with a mother. If your parents are still alive, you're very lucky that we should have an opportunity. Once they go, my teacher, Mufti Ubaid, he said that, when the both parents pass away, your house becomes like a shed. It becomes like the garage. The family home becomes like a garage. Like your parents are not there. Mom and dad are not there. I remember one brother reading a hadith, we were sitting in halaqah and something about parents came. He's like in his 50s. He broke down. Because parents passed away and he did certain things and there's only regret left. You can do good things, dua for them that'll benefit them, and and so forth. There's certain things can be done. But while they were alive, he didn't get to do those things. And he hurt them. So he had regret. And we don't want to be people of regret. The worst punishment for a person is hasra, is regret. So therefore, we should be in this month, spend our times in dua, in the amal, make the same, especially for the men, try to pray as many salats in the masjid as possible, especially Isha and Fajr. We're here anyway for Isha, try Fajr, we awake in Fajr as well, Suhoor as well. We come, we awake already, we have to maybe pray Tahajjud as well. Try to spend some time into the masjid, make the masjid alive, right? The Amir of the masjid is not just building a building, but spending time in the masjid. Make the masjid alive with amal, right? And ultimately, we spend our time in, as I mentioned at the start, the two things. One is doing these extra things. One is the biggest thing, which is to be the best worshipper, is to avoid sins. And we have to find, for that we have to learn. Because there's a hadith, it's not strong, but it lines up with many other hadiths, that a majlis of where a person sits in, of fiqh, of learning the deen. Right? If we're ignorant, then we should remove the ignorance by learning. This is and we should ask questions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, shifa al-ayy su'al, that the cure for ignorance is asking questions. So we should attend, and it's better than 60 years nafl ibadah. Majlis of fiqh where deen is learned, we should make a majlis and we should try to learn and remove our ignorance. We cannot come, someone told me that Allah will say on the Day of Judgment to me, someone from Melbourne said, I'm not going to learn. And this is a person who prays 5 times, a good person, like he's not a bad, I'm not going to learn. Because Allah says, what if Allah asked me and I didn't practice? So Allah will say to me, this is His plan, if we get to Jannah. Allah will say to me that this guy didn't know anything, put him in Jannah. But His plan to get to Jannah is to remain ignorant, not to learn anything. That won't work. But what if Allah asks you, why didn't you learn? You get stuck in that one. You know, like, because he's got his own idea about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I told him, look, what if the question comes that why didn't you learn? And you knew that you were ignorant. You didn't remove your ignorance. So that's not a plan. That's not a plan. So we should learn. We shouldn't feel ashamed of it. What our past is our past. Right? And there's Sahaba that became Muslim in their 30s, 40s, 50s, Hassan Sahaba, and 60. And they have radiallahu anhu next to their name. So we shouldn't write ourselves off. Shaitan is the one who make us despond of Allah's mercy, make us forget. No, we have to learn. We have no choice. We cannot meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with jahalat, ignorance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us may you all have a Ramadan Kareem inshallah. May Allah give us a blessed Ramadan, a fruitful Ramadan, and that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill this Ramadan, that is that we achieve taqwa inshallah ta'ala. Do a self-audit, self-accounting, and prepare for it by tawbah. And try to clean the heart as much as possible in the next 48 hours. That try to prepare ourselves and have a plan, definitive plan. Especially, minimum plan is the routine that I want to keep the whole year. That should be like the base minimum of amal, 5 times salat, the masjid, whatever it is. This much Quran, some base plan that I can sustain the whole year and make sure we're locked into that, and that we can do. It doesn't have to be a lot, but that's some things that I need to get in this month. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and tawfiq to practice what we say here. Jazakumullah khairah for your time. Barakallahu feekum.